Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You already know what it is, bro. You already know what it is right now. You thought I was gonna miss an opportunity to get to this? No, we was not. See, the rest of y'all cats is out there slipping. I saw this news and I was sitting back in my bed. I was like, man, I done worked all week. I'm gonna just chill back and kick back and maybe take a little nap and post up like I'm supposed to do. But no. Little do I know, I jump on the sticks. People's blowing me up. G. Bush. We got that Amari Cooper trade, and all I could do is just do this. Slow clap. I could only slow clap because for me, it was getting dark and gloomy out here. It was getting a little spooky out here. And it happened to be that for a lot of fans. Because when we started looking at that and this is why Andrew Berry, let me shake your hand. You make moves that like regular people would make. Let me shake your hand on that again. Because you saw and read the tea leaves just like we did. People, G. Bush, don't worry. The sky isn't falling. We're good. We're just going to go out and draft a quarterback. He knew good and well that the Cleveland Browns were not getting any of those receivers. If it was a free agent receiver to be had out there, they weren't coming to Cleveland. I've been talking to you guys about that for 3-4 weeks. So Andrew Berry, in his infinite wisdom on this move, says, you know what we need to do? We're gonna have to trade for somebody. We're gonna have to simply trade for somebody and have those guys under asset, have those guys under contract, and that's exactly what he did. He preyed on the Dallas Cowboys, who are perpetually over the cap. They got to make a decision on CeeDee Lamb in a couple years. They like Michael Gallup. They like Wilson. And you got a guy, Amari Cooper, who's been very productive for them, getting a little, not old, but getting up there, and he's making $20 million. So the Browns did what they could do, and they got it for pennies on the dollar. They got it for pennies on the dollar, I tell you. A 6th and 5th round pick. They end up flopping 5th or 6th. I don't even break down the deal. I was just excited and happy that these dudes right now is going out doing what they needed to do, because it was looking bad there for a second. And because we looked at the wins, Mike Williams went back to the Chargers. When you talk about some of those other guys, Godwin got franchise tag, and the only thing we had left was David Njoku signing, and that wasn't going to get it done. Let's talk about that. And a matter of fact, yes, of course, 61 people in the building. Yes, I'm still going to come back and do the Cavs post-game show. Yes, we will get to that. 61 is in the building. I need every one of you to hit that like button. It costs you nothing. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Stop playing around, because that's what everybody else. Where all the other hosts at? Where all the rest of the hosts at? Y'all don't got phones? Y'all can't go live? What is everybody sleep or tired? What? You better get up. Money knocking. That ain't the cops at the door. That's money knocking. Y'all better wake on up. This is big time news. I need y'all to get on them cell phones or something. Let's get to the people. We robbed Dallas for Cooper. Smooth fleece job. Fleece. Just better be step number one in getting Deshaun Watson. I know y'all done listened to me all morning. I know you know where I stand at. You already know what it is. This is, because think about it. You got your number one, right? You got your number one. You don't have to use a draft pick on that. And I'm going to break this down throughout the video. I'm going to show you exactly how you can go about making this team a serious contender quick and in a hurry in about 7 to 10 months. I'm going to show you on here. I'm going to show you. Brad said, get Deshaun Watson. People is lining up. 71 people in the building. Hit that like button. Brad says, get Deshaun Watson. Hey, Rob Ventures. Okay, G. Bush, you know I was up. You know, I was up. Shoot. I woke up, my wife got her clothes, and she was like, what are you doing? I said, I got to go in. I got to put that work in. She's like, you go live? I said, yeah, I'm going live, sweetheart. Got to. Thank you. Tell them to hit that like button. It means we're getting a D lineman with our first pick at 13. Well, that they could mean that. I got a couple other tea leaves that I'm going to read and show you guys as well. Yo, G. Bush, what up with it, man? Hey, listen, what's good with you out there, man? It's a good day, a very good day. And the Cleveland Browns have not had a very good day in a while. We missed this. We didn't have very many good days the last couple weeks and over the last year either. 85 in the building, hit that like button. Hit that like button. We not getting Watson. AB scared to pull the trigger. We're going to talk about that. We're going to give him some courage. James said, I think a healthy Baker can still get it done. Karen, now all we need is a quarterback. I'm not a Baker Mayfield fan. GB, love the channel. Appreciate you, man. Thank you for your calf support as well. If Cooper isn't the piece that helps us lure Watson, then we've only got slightly better with Landry leaving. Let me stop this right here and get to what I want to get to, my main thesis statement. Read in a week. This is the time. Time is now. If this move don't signify that you already know what the move says, because you have your proven number one guy, you can tell Deshaun Watson, who has a no trade clause, and we got you Amari Cooper, bro. What you talking about? And if they were smart, they continue to go in free agency and find them another receiver. If it's Allen Robinson or if it's somebody else, go ahead and get that dude too. And you know why that works out the best? It works out the best because now you already got people involved ready to go. You already got a receiver you don't got to teach nothing to. You got veterans out there, proven track record. And now look at your roster. You're going to have to give up something to get Deshaun Watson. You may have to give up, first round picks. So not necessarily, you might not be drafting in the first round for 2 years because you might have to give up 2 number ones for that. But look at the way the roster looks and checks out if you just go ahead and just look at the pecking order of what you got on your team. If you got, even just now, even if you just say, hey, it's almost plausible a little bit to even bring Jarvis back at the 10 to 12. Come on now. It's even easier to bring him back at the 10 to 12 mark. You know why? If you're looking to get Deshaun Watson, you're not necessarily looking at the cap space specifically. You just looking at whether or not you got enough assets and pieces to go back to them. They're going to want people for Deshaun Watson. So you need the picks. You need the draft capital. Of course, you definitely need the money. But if you're not going to have the picks to draft receivers, well, you need veterans to take their spots. So if you go and get Amari Cooper, you bring back Jarvis Landry, now that little laughing stuff that we was doing and I was doing at the receiving core, we got to all shut up now. Because now you got Amari Cooper as a 1, Jarvis Landry as a 2. You developing Schwartz and guys like that as gadget guys, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Not to mention, you could still get a young receiver this year with the 3rd and middle rounds. Come on now. Come on. The time is now. We have to understand something. Every other team is out there going for it. And this is how I feel about this too. This is no disrespect to the people that support Baker Mayfield. I totally understand that you rock and roll with him. I get it. I understand this. But I said this earlier. On my radio show. It's not always about what the Cleveland Browns are going to do. It's about what other teams will do. You see, the Denver Broncos are in your division. And a lot of people thought that I was talking about Russell Wilson and him coming here. No, I was trying to prove a point saying, even if the guy doesn't come to Cleveland, it's still something that's going to work against you because now there's another elite quarterback in that division that you got to go through in order to get your ultimate goal, which is to make the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. People, well, G. Bush, he's not going to come here. Here's another thing. I understand. See, a lot of you guys are like this. I used to be a big dude back in the day. I was one of the first big, sexy, big dudes. I like to smell good and wear good clothes. I like to have nice designer clothes on. I was really the first dude. I found myself, I'm like, oh, listen, all the nice girls like me. But before that, people, it'd be hard for big dudes to get the nice, skinny, cute little girls, right? It's hard for that to happen. But the key to this is you got to shoot your shot. See, a lot of these guys out there sit on the sideline and be like, oh, women today. Well, it's easy for you to say that, and you ain't out there actively trying to date. It's easy for people to say, oh, well, he's not going to come here. He's not going to, when you're not actively going out and researching it. How you know? Andrew Berry owes it to this organization to go out there, knock on Deshaun Watson's door and say, listen, looky here, Deshaun, this is what we got to offer. You know, it's a place where, you know, we got 2 strong running backs, best offensive line in the game. We got a franchise pass rusher, game changing. We got passionate fans, right? You got 2, 3 young, nice corners. You got all of these things waiting for you. And plus, we're going to open the playbook up for you a little bit. There's some things, trust me, there's some things I got to get off my chest. Stefanski got to say it's a couple things that I got to let you know that the playbook, it's a couple more things that we got to get to that I think you're perfect for. If you can go out and make this move, if you get Deshaun Watson, you place yourself right now in the pecking order in the AFC. You're right in the hunt. You are in the hunt today. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. A lot of people don't want to hear it. You know, they pivoted from anybody. And here's the thing. We talk about all the time. Every time you bring up another quarterback, people usually say, oh, they don't want to come here. Aaron Rodgers ain't going to never come here. Tom Brady's not even going to answer our phone calls. Russell Wilson's not going to come here. He doesn't want no parts of the Browns. I said, okay. Deshaun Watson, G. Bush, he's going to be in jail. He's going to be in jail for a long period of time. We can't invest that much capital in the quarterback we don't even know is going to be here. Well, let me tell you something. I just simply threw it out and said, well, it don't look like he's going to jail. And now everybody's playing the moral high ground game. and I always have to preface stuff because people go crazy. Does G. Bush condone sexual misconduct? No. Most Americans don't. But is G. Bush naive enough to think that front offices, coaches, and major college athletics don't have scandals, that the coaches, teams, players, organizations, if you're not going to jail and he's already went through that process, they're not using it. That's not a part of the thinking. So for me, I don't know what you want me to do, because I can give you case after case after case after case where people, Big Ben just retired. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He had the same thing happen. He played over there for years in Pittsburgh and beat the brakes out of us. You think people, when they go up and say, hey, Big Ben, and he's with his wife and 5 kids, you think they're saying, hey, I remember what you were allegedly did 17 years ago. No, they don't do that. So my thing is, when I'm looking at this scenario, I'll let the judicial system play out. What do you want G. Bush to do? Go back to the grand jury and say, are you really sure he didn't do it? At the end of the day, that's not my job. My job is to talk about football, talk about sports. And I've already said, if he was guilty, it's a wrap. If you found guilty, I ain't got no love for you. So long, player. But that's not the case at this point. Let's get back to these chats. Let's get back to it. James said, we don't need Watson. That man isn't even free and clear of a situation yet. That's not true. That's not true. See, I can't. So one thing that I do is I have to have a level of integrity. I can't sit here and say he's not free and clear. When, if you want to say, and I got to be very specific when you say, I'm going to give you an opportunity, James, to say, what do you mean he's not free and clear? He could still have civil cases. Yes, that could still happen. And those proceedings could happen, and he still have to pay a sum of money, or he'd have to go back to civil court. But in terms of the off the field stuff in the grand jury, no, he is free. You can't just say that and just say, oh, well, he's not free yet. Facts don't have nothing to do with opinions. That's just what it is. And there's all kind of times where I might not agree with a verdict. I might not agree with certain things. But in America, we have to trust the judicial system. We got to trust and say, I got to put my faith in something. And trust me, as a black man, sometimes I really don't have trust in the judicial system. Sometimes it sucks, right? But all I can do is say, did he go through due process? He had his due process. Courts, there's the difference between exonerating. Put it like this. They did not have enough evidence to prosecute. At the end of the day, the man's free to move on with his life. Salute G. Bush. Baker got to make this one. Salute G. Baker got to make this one happen. Man, I don't know what that was. Okay. Am I reading that wrong? Was Cooper productive this year? Let's take a look at it. Somebody pull. Let me see. Let's take a look at it. Amari Cooper stats. We'll get to that. Bear with me. Okay. So let's get it. He in 2021, he had 865 yards. He averaged 12.7 yards per reception, 8 touchdowns. In 2020, he had 92 receptions, 1,114 yards, 12.1 yards per catch, and 5 touchdowns. 2019, he had 79 catches, 1,189 yards, 15.1 yards per catch, and 8 touchdowns. So his production was a little bit down last year, but traditionally over the last 3 years, he's been very productive. And not to mention, he did have a really stellar receiving core. When you talk about you having Gallup, Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke Elliott is still there, and they still throw the ball to the tight end a lot. 865 ain't nothing to slouch at. Plus, I think he missed a couple games due to injury. Devin says they should trade back. You say yes, he is. Wilson, you would. Why do you think teams are interested now? I gave him credit. I gave him an opportunity. Come back in and see what he's talking about. I don't know. Kid Wilson 33. I don't know what 100 L's mean, but you can't be spamming in the chat. I'm not a person that's a blocker, but you can't be spamming in the chat, bro. You can't keep putting that stuff. So I'm just giving you a fair warning, bro. John Connor, they need to double dip at tackle. I think they need a couple tackles. I think they need a few of them. And with Malik McDowell, God knows what's happening with them. I don't think they're going to bring back anybody necessarily speaking in terms of Malik Jackson and some of those guys. They need an opportunity to figure out where they at. If you say so, I'm fine with Baker. Simple before him, our last winning season, was Derek Anderson. I get that. When we talk about Baker Mayfield, you can't take into context that we're just going to keep a person because they got you to the furthest you've ever been. The analogy I always give people is, you could be in a relationship, right? And you could be with a person and he could be a horrible person. And then you divorce him. You get with another person, you get married again. And then you say, well, this relationship isn't that bad. My old husband used to kick me down the stairs. This one doesn't kick me down the stairs. He just is verbally abusive and doesn't and it really makes fun of me and is really abusive verbally. Well, I would tell you as a outside person looking in, I would say, well, you might not need to be with both of them. Just because one is physical and one is verbal doesn't mean one is better than the other. I would say that you need to find somebody that's good for you all the way around. So if we say Baker has done it and we haven't had anybody since Derek Anderson, I can get that sentiment that people don't want to roll the dice, and they have a real passion and they have a real loyalty to a person who has brought them some success when they haven't traditionally seen it. I can admire that. I can admire that in a person. However, when you're talking about playing at the highest level and wanting to win at all costs, you have to look at putting yourself in the best position to compete with other teams. And other teams are not gonna. Nostalgia doesn't win Super Bowls. Nostalgia and that type of thing, it is not going to get it. Because for my bang for my buck, even if Baker plays 20% better, say he plays the way he played in 2020. People always talk about that. Look, go back to 2020. If he plays the same way he played in 2020, I think you're still in an uphill battle because you still have to go and play 3 of the best quarterbacks in the world. Even with him, you tell Lamar Jackson, you got to beat 3 of these people: Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Am I missing anybody? Derek Carr keeps going to the playoffs. I mean, it's brutal, man. Matt Wilson went to the not Matt Wilson. Matt Jones went to the playoffs in New England. It's a murderer's row of quarterbacks. You got to beat 3 of them to get to where you want to go. I just think it's difficult. I just think it's real difficult. Zen Menza says, happy about Amari Cooper, not sure about Watson. I mean, you could be on the fence. Ain't nothing wrong with being on the fence. There are some things that could come with it, because here's the thing. We could talk about price tag. And a lot of y'all, we'll play a little game coming up here in a minute called price tag. And we'll ask what's too much for Deshaun Watson. Let's see. Can a healthy, mentally coach get us a ring? Stefanski is trash. Matt Nagy 2.0. His I won't say he's on the hot seat, but I think that he's I think that he's close to it, and I think that's why this season has been ratcheted up a little bit, because no longer can you sit there and say I got 3 to 5 years. There's a lot of people in the city, a lot of people in the media that just don't feel that Kevin Stefanski is doing a good enough job calling plays. Whether that's reality or it's just simply perception, a lot of people believe that. And trust me, if they don't get it done this year, even if they do have to go get Deshaun Watson or they don't make the playoffs, they're going to make him give up play calling, or he might be out. It just is what it is. George, I think that's about Harlem and Bus. I'm sorry, this is going to be bad. And if Watson comes to the Browns, is back to the drawing board, back to being a laughingstock. Cavs have more success than the Browns in the last 20 years. I disagree with that. Why would if Deshaun Watson comes to the Browns? Why would they be a laughingstock? That makes no sense. See, a lot of what I hear all the time is the same thing. It's it'll sting right now for you right now. But let me ask you a question. Nobody says anything about Kareem Hunt. I'll wait. Do you guys in the stands? I'll poll the audience. How many of you put a zero? Put a zero in the chat. How many of you actively see at the stadium, on radio, in the media, on social commentary, on boards? How many people do you see openly criticizing Kareem Hunt? I'll give you I'll give you a shot. Throw it in there because it's non-existent. There's not people picketing at the tailgates. I'm down there every week. No one's picketing Kareem Hunt, and there's video of that. There's video of that. And when I was on the air and Dorsey decided to go after him, people were hot. People were hot. I used to do those shows. And people say, I'll never watch the Browns again. I'll never go to another game. These games still be packed. You say it now, but it's in a vacuum and the season ain't here. And you get to the spring, you get to the fall, and you start looking around and you know it's football season. It's easier to say it now, but when you start winning and people start winning, they don't be on that. I mean, I just disagree with that. All-Star says, G-Bush, what's the chances of us actually getting Watson, honestly? Well, if you keep going out and getting guys like Amari Cooper, it's a good chance. You know, you see, this is the thing. And this is why I really talked about the Odell Beckham Jr. thing. One thing that people in Cleveland don't seem to understand, and they won't grasp it and wrap their heads around it, is that there is a fraternity of players, right? There's a fraternity of players. In the media, people still think that the people who were running the show are these general managers and scouts and coaches and front office guys. They're not doing that. Nowadays, the game is different. I've had 2 sources in the Browns locker room all year. All year. I don't really never came out and say nothing about them. And they're prominent. These prominent players. And everything they've told me beforehand has come to pass. But the reason I don't say it is because it does you no good. Because people are going to believe what they want to believe. I knew weeks ago Clowney wasn't coming back. They just broke that story. I knew weeks ago, after the season, after the pads were taken off. And so there's a situation where players and who's in the locker room matters. That's why when I talked about the whole Odell Beckham Jr. thing, I kept telling people who you have on your roster matters because those people are influential with your talent base. They're influential. And we found out the hard way when Odell Beckham Jr. told Von Miller not to come here. We found out the hard way when Jarvis Landry, goes and talks to young guys. Whether we like it or not, everybody talks. It's a job. How many coworkers get together and talk about their boss all the time? I'm a manager. They probably be killing me behind my back. But the reality of it is, if you get enough people to come here and you get enough talent to come here, to ask yourself this, All-Star, Von Miller was going to come. Just on the strength of having Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Jarvis Landry, and Odell Beckham Jr. He was coming. He was going to sign here. But they said, don't do it. So my thing is, long story short, you always have a shot. But to get a shot at these players, you got to be willing to go all the way in. No half-stepping. You got to be willing to be like, the Denver Broncos were like, we ain't playing with no Drew Lock. We ain't got no time to figure out what Drew Lock is doing. Give me Russell Wilson. We've been garbage since Peyton Manning. Give me that. You see what happened with the Rams. The Rams said the same thing. Give me Matt Stafford. Now, here's the thing about, we are very conservative in the state of Ohio. Very conservative. And the reason why, and Rob, thank you so much for the super chat. I did see that. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We do take super chats. And if you want to donate, you can donate on Cash App at $Gbush91. That's once again $Gbush91. Also, we do accept super chats. But what I'm saying to you is this. You got to be willing to go all the way in and show players, we ready to go. And the quickest way to get people off the ship is start talking about this season is all about finding out whether Baker is a franchise quarterback. Here's the news flash. What are the rest of the guys on the team doing when you figure that out? Are they just sitting there hanging out? No, they're making decisions. They're like, oh, get me up out of here. They're thinking about other stuff at that time. So I do think you can get them if you have some sort of tact, if you have a plan, and if you are about all the way in, not 10-year plans. Let's see. D Gant, they said they gave Jarvis permission for a trade. I know that. That's awesome. But if this wide receiver pool get dried up, this is my opinion. I bring him back 10 to 12. That's my opinion. I bring him back 10 to 12. And from there, whatever, if he says no, cool. We'll go out and find another guy. See if we can get Allen Robinson. Gary Garlock says, Andrew got Coop for a bag of chips sold. I'll take you. Oh, man. Let's see. Oh, bro, man. Let's see. Now, let's talk about this. Skip Bayless is saying on Twitter, Cowboys trade Amari Cooper to the Browns. As a Cowboy fan, I will not miss him. As a Baker fan, I still think he still needs a number one receiver, especially on the road. I mean, I don't know. Why will he not miss him? Like, you think Michael Gallup is the truth? I guess coming off of ACL. Baker would probably do good with the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson can make some noise in Cleveland. Let's check and see this. I challenged a couple people. Let's see. I said, sorry, Kid Wilson. Let's see. What's that? 16. Doing too much. Doing too much in the chat. Let me read this. Please block Kid Wilson for 33 for spamming on mod someone. I got him. He's up out of here. You're doing way too much. See, this is the thing. When did all of a sudden we get? That's how you know we getting big. We got spammers now. You grinded. You grinded today. You got to do a cast post game show tonight. Let's get Watson now. Of course, big homie. We right back at it. I'm gonna let my voice heal up a little bit. We go talk about this basketball. Worst case scenario, we keep Baker and have a 13th pick. Who do you want? And thank you for saying that. I want 190 people here to understand something, right? I want 193 people to understand this. And it goes to kind of is wide receiver still need and Baker a little bit too. A lot of people may misconstrue my passion for being short-sighted, dumb, and just having knee-jerk reactions. It is totally possible that the Cleveland Browns can go out to Deshaun Watson and say, hey, if we put a package together, would you come here? He has a no-trade clause. They could say, he could say, kick rocks, I'm never coming there. I would be totally fine with that. At least you asked, right? You can then come back and say, okay, well, we still need to get another receiver and build a team and figure out what's going on with Baker. Ain't nothing wrong with that. My problem is when people get all up in arms and start falling out and having fits and crying and doing all this other stuff. Listen, I get it. If you're a fan of your quarterback, you really are invested in him. But nobody yet has said Baker's better than Deshaun Watson. Nobody. Even his wife don't think that. His mom and dad can't think that. His school teachers don't think that. Nobody does, right? And that's no knock. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the game. All I'm saying is, even if they don't get him, and worst case scenario is we got Amari Cooper and you still go get the best receiver at 13, I'm okay with that. Aren't you? I'm cool. So now we got somebody, and now we can properly evaluate. Because I said, go get Amari Cooper 2 weeks ago. You can properly evaluate, right? You can get rid of Jarvis if you want to. Go get a number 13, guy at 13. Plug him in. Because we still need a defensive end. Because Clowney's not coming back. And that hurts. That hurts a lot. Hurt more than people really know. So yeah, that's one of the things that people not really catching on to. Not really catching on to. Appreciate it, Rob. Definitely appreciate that. George, we back again. Prediction for tonight's game, Cavs versus Bull rival. I don't have a good feeling about this one. I don't. They're on the road of a back-to-back, and I think the pounding is going to get to Mobley a little bit. He's going to play big minutes. And I think if they're going to win, I think Darius Garland has to have 35 plus. I'll say that. And Jetty has to play well. You have to have a really big game from Jetty, Kevin Love, and your boy Darius Garland. Let's talk about this too. DeAndre, thank you for mentioning this. Thank you for mentioning this too. If the Steelers get Deshaun Watson, turn out the lights. Just turn them out. We talked about it before. There is no way. I've lived through the era of Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, and Big Ben. And all four of those guys tormented us. If the Browns don't seriously make that move, can they afford to let somebody else make it? A lot of Pittsburgh Steelers. If you got the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pittsburgh Steelers get Deshaun Watson, that would mean, let me spell it out. You play Lamar Jackson twice. You play Joe Burrow twice. And you are going to pay and play your boy Deshaun Watson. With that schedule, you're in trouble. It's the worst case scenario. It is a doomsday type thing. And I don't care what happens with Baker, right? If Baker comes out and plays marginally better, but they still get Deshaun Watson, I'm just letting you know. And to give you a context on some other things, you also have to take in consideration, if you're looking at the window, or if you're looking at this year, if you don't make the playoffs this year, two things are going to happen. You're going to look for a new quarterback. Baker's not going to be there. And you're going to have to go back to the draft. That's another rebuild, people. You're going to have to rebuild again. That's what happens when you don't get a contingency plan. They never drafted a viable backup to develop. They brought Case Keenum in, and they didn't play him. They never kicked the tires on some of these other guys, the veterans that were out there that could have been an upgrade. They never did any of that. So now, literally, we are here in the fifth year, in the 24th or 23rd hour, and he has to play great. We have all our chips on one guy. And if he doesn't play great, we're back talking about quarterback play at the top of the draft. And you know where that leads. So that's why it's so pressure-packed this year for me. It's so much pressure to look at it, because you back to square one realistically, because now Chubb is older. Your offensive linemen are up there in age a little bit. Myles Garrett is a little older. So these things are all things that you definitely got to talk about. Let's see. I could live with Baker, but pull the trigger on Watson. Watson would put him in check, though. Would he have a real quarterback that can win the game? I think you got a real guy that could really. That's a bona fide top 5 quarterback. Let's see. Trolls do what trolls do. I definitely feel you, man. Watson was acquitted. Time the ball now. He can help us win. What are we all talking about? I think people will pretty soon continue to move on. I know it's a hot topic right now. And at the end of my show, I said this too. I'm not minimizing the damage, or I'm not minimizing the impact that these allegations have on the people who made them. There's 22 women out there that are not very happy today. Their families are not happy today. And it's not something that people are jumping up for joy and rejoicing with. All I'm sitting here saying is, as people who talk about sports, we have to understand that once that process takes place, what do we want to do? He has a right to pursue his career, and we have a right to talk about whether or not he would be good on the team. It just is what it is. Hunt can start on any team. Let's see. Big leap between Kareem Hunt and Watson, though. I mean, I guess both of them are bad things. One of them we just happen to see on tape. So, I just like to, I just look at it in terms of that. One of them, both of them are horrible. What are you going to do? That's the part of our lives we live in. Let's see. We talked about this earlier today. How many people have you heard boo Kareem Hunt? And I said put 0 in the chat. So there's a 0. There's a 0. 0. Thank you. We did get rid of that spammer. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, a 0. All these zeros. Sean Watt, that's what happens. That's what happens. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask you specifically, this is going to be the last segment before we get off here. First of all, 209 people. I've been talking for 30, 40 minutes. Thank you. Please hit the like button. I appreciate everybody coming in here, giving and lending their voice to what we're doing now. Aggie Furry at 101 says, remember a lot of teams passed on Watson when he was still down. AB is verified as giving guys second chances. DW raises the floor in the quarterback at minimum. Thank you so much, Aggie Furry 101 for the super chat. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you jumping into the chat and giving your opinions and talking about a delicate subject. I'm going to ask you guys too, and we're going to get to these as well. What is off limits? Because that is the key that we have to talk about. Yes, some people will be on board or off board. But at the end of the day, it boils down to what are you willing to give up for Deshaun Watson? And yesterday and today, I've been talking to a lot of people, and I'm gonna let you know the price tag is kind of is steep. It ain't gonna be cheap. You're gonna be in some pain. I had 14 surgeries or 15, whatever the case it is. I always know when it's gonna be a bad procedure when the doctor don't sugarcoat it. She's like, yeah, it's gonna hurt a little bit. That means she gonna dang near try to kill you. She gonna try to kill you. I'm not gonna lie, Garrett. It's gonna hurt a little bit. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit of an adjustment period, getting reacclimated. I just don't push it. It's gonna be a little bit of time before you get back to normal. Oh hell no. She's trying to kill me up in here. Watson is not gonna be cheap. Who's off limits for you? Because I'm going to tell you two people who I definitely know that the Texans want. Word around campus is they might not even want Baker. They like the Mills kid at quarterback. So if you don't if Baker's not in part of that deal, if they're not part of that action, guess what? They want a couple ball players and some ones. This package could be 2 number ones, maybe a third or a fourth somewhere. And they want 2 players. One of these two players, I believe, are in the deal is either A. Denzel Ward or Kareem Hunt. Let me go ahead and tell you. Kareem Hunt or Denzel Ward. I'm telling you, those guys may be in it. And to me, The only untouchable that I got, is Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. That's it. Anybody else you can get. I wouldn't give them any of my linemen, but I don't think they want linemen. But those are my untouchables. You're not getting Myles Garrett. You're not getting Nick Chubb. Somebody earlier on Twitter did make a really he made a very riveting and persuasive speech on why he could give up Nick Chubb and still rock with Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson. So we're going to rapid fire that as our last segment. Thank you guys so much. Let's get to these super chats. Before we do that, in the chat section, let's go. Let's get it. Who are your untouchables? We'll get you guys, put it on the screen because that's the next step. Maybe they do reach out to Deshaun Watson, but guess what? They're not cool with it. They're like, whoa, that's too much. So let me get to these super chats really quickly. Soul Train says Cooper has had 1,000 yards with the Raiders and Cowboys while still 27. Hopefully some of the young receivers break out and the quarterback is good. I appreciate you, man. Soul Train, thank you so much for the super chat. Let me make sure. Let's see. Let me make sure I get you on here too. I want to make sure you acknowledge you, man. Appreciate you. Let's see. Ooh. You guys are killing the chat today, man. Awesome, man. Scott Hughes says, let's be honest. Watson was innocent. The lawyer who brought the first case was against Watson, was the owner, neighbor, and friend of some of the women who recanted. There's a lot of inconsistent stories that a couple of them had. I don't want to minimize anybody's pain. I don't want to minimize anybody's trauma. So I'm not going to marginalize somebody based on what they perceive is their gripes or somebody's transgression against them. I will just say everybody has a right to their court date. Everybody has a right to due process. Deshaun Watson hasn't said anything in 2 years. He never condemned anybody. He never said that people are lying. He just kept it by the book, went to the grand jury, and they didn't give it. So that's something that we definitely got to always keep in mindfulness. We don't want to do that to people if we don't have that information. So Cooper had 1,000 yards. Raiders and Cowboys still while at 27. Hopefully some of the young receivers break out and the quarterback is good. Wanted to make sure we showed that super chat. Thank you so much for donating. I appreciate you guys. You guys are the reason I can get up and do some of this stuff and continue to have the chat and everything running. Aggie Furry says Baker picks Dearness in a package. I would give him Dearness if they want him. But the Browns have three good running backs that are out there and available. All right, so let's get to this rapid fire a little bit. Let's get to the rapid fire a little bit and get to who you guys believe is the untouchables. Let's see. Oh, y'all still talk about trades. All right. Here we go. So hey, Big Bag Joker 216 said, dang, you want all that? Chris K said his untouchables are Ward, Garrett, Chubb, the O-line, Newsom. I forgot about Newsom. Dang. Good one, Chris. That's a good one, Chris. I forgot about him. I'd be hard-pressed to give him up too, man. I like him, man. I really like him. That'd be a tough one for me. Mr. Roll-Up 10 says, rather get a pass rusher at 13, get a receiver later in the draft. Got lumps for you. Paintball says, we need Kareem more than Denzel. We got Newsom. Yeah, I mean, yuck, that's crazy. Hey, Jackson. hey, look, you done took it too far. Get on up out of here with that. I didn't try to treat you nice, and you gonna disrespect me under my house like that. Hey, He's like, no way, D Ward. Rob Venter says, I'll give them Hunt in a heartbeat. Okay. Ward is a top 3 corner. Killer Shot 3 says, he don't want to parse of that either. Where can we sign for that, then trade Baker for a third? You know, ironically, there's people in Tampa Bay that are really interested in Baker Mayfield. They're interested. And somebody said this a couple days ago, too. They never thought about it. I was in Twitter Spaces, and they said they think his Baker Mayfield he's a Baker supporter. He said he thinks that Baker, even if he plays well this year, won't sign with the Browns because that bridge is already burned. And he feels like he's going to automatically go somewhere else. And even if it's slightly a little bit less money to prove that the Browns dissed him, kind of left him out to hang out to dry with the injury and stuff like that. And I never thought about that angle. I think that's completely viable. We talk about it from the Browns angle. We never talk about the separation from Baker Mayfield and his team. I mean, because, you know, he was not lockstep with the organization at the end of the year. So I thought that was a really thinking outside of the box, a comment as well. Scott Hughes, Denzel, no. I would give up John Johnson III. Hey, why is John Johnson III always the fallback? Hey, I ain't gonna let you. I can't let you borrow 50 today. But I got 20. I can't let you borrow the 50, but I got a 20. You know what I'm saying? 20 you don't need back really. You know, 50 you might have to go look for somebody. A 20 is like, it is what it is. Sorry, you got to keep the backfield together. Let's see. Can we trade Miles straight up for Deshaun? Wow, you guys are very that is really strange. That I was gonna say no immediately, but if it was straight up, I'd have to consider it. I would. That's a Brave 2354. That's a very good comment. Miles, Chubb, and Kareem are untouchable. Miles and Ward. Wow, big bad Joker. No Chubb for you. Steelers will not get Watson. They don't make moves like that. Mr. Roll Up Tim. The reason I don't think they make moves like that, prior to this, they did not do that. However, I'm gonna tell you this. When I saw them give up a first-round pick for Minka Fitzpatrick, I said, the Steelers ain't out here playing with somebody. And you got to think about it like this. The Steelers are allergic to losing. The Steelers is not going to sit around and take L's for years. They don't do that. Mike Tomlin said the standard is the standard. Watson is pricey. He is pricey. Scott, Denzel, Chubb, Garrett are untouchable. Let's continue to keep moving down here. M. Scott said, I'll give up Hunt and Greedy, but I got to keep Denzel Ward. Cedric Lyon says Garrett and Chubb are untouchables. Let's see. Where else we got? This is why I stopped fooling with the Cowboys. I'm done with them. I'm going to support right to the right. He was a fool. He was fool free of those last games and made. I can't read that. There was like 6 errors. Somebody help me out with that. Oh man. Let's keep it going. Rob says no touch. Garrett, JOK, Newsom, and Chubb. I wouldn't give up JOK either. All right, and let me get to. Give me a second. I did have one. Did I miss one super chat? Did I miss someone? So you got the screenshot. Did you screenshot it? You got a super chat. Let's see. Make sure I try to make sure I read everybody, man. All right. Phil Savage says, get us Watson and ship Emily's husband out of here. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you. I really do, man. Oh, here we go. It was right here. There it is. Phil Savage says, get us Watson and ship Emily's husband out of here. There's a lot of Malik Willis is looking kind of nice out there, and Caleb too. Really like Malik Willis as well. We're going to conclude this. We're going to wrap this thing up. First of all, I want to thank you guys. 232 people in here. 232. Please do me a favor. Hit that like button on the way out. And I always tell people like this, man. And this is the parting shots. It ain't even a shot. We can all agree to disagree on some things, man. But we don't got to get emotional about it. At the end of the day, we all support the Cleveland Browns. We may disagree about what way philosophically we're going to go about getting this ring, but at the end of the day, we're all Browns fans. We don't need to get emotional. Whether it's going to be Deshaun Watson, whether it's going to be Baker Mayfield, I think every single person in this chat and everywhere else is going to say, guess what? The first game of the season, pretty safe to say, we'll be all watching Browns. We'll check you out in a couple hours. I got some Cavs duty to do. Thank you, guys. Hit that subscribe button. And as always, listen for the Clippers.